You're a mum, you're a mum, you're a busy mum. Come listen to the Busy Mum podcast. Life hacks and inspiration for the busy modern mum.
Okay, in this second part of Abbey's interview, we chatted about moving, and especially moving interstate. I personally have moved interstate once before with the family from Perth to Sydney, and we are considering it again, hence this conversation. We spoke about what they did and didn't consider and other factors affecting their decision. Living in Sydney, you're spoilt for choice and everything is close and far away at the same time. The culture is different and we explore that in this interview. Check it out. Okay, so firstly I just want to talk to you about, I saw a post on your Sage and Luna Facebook page saying that you guys had moved out of Sydney. Where did you go?
We moved to Canberra.
Okay, so you moved to Canberra, sleepy Canberra. Canberra is very beautiful. I have been there and I love it, but I don't know if I could live there. So did you have family in Canberra?
Yeah, so I've got a lot of family in Canberra. My mum and my stepdad live there.
Yeah.
And then I have a sister there and a brother and another brother, like a really young brother.
Yeah.
So there was a fair bit of family there. So that's why we decided to move. It was purely for family.
Okay, and what did you expect you were going to get out of that move?
I think just spending more time with family and having that family support. So in Sydney, we do have some of my husband's family, but they all have very busy lives. I mean, my brother and my sister-in-law, they work full-time jobs. My father-in-law and mother-in-law, they have a little girl as well who's Lily. She's nearly 7. So they're still very much in that kind of parenting stage, like exactly the same stage of parenting life that we are. So the idea to move to Canberra would be that I'd be able to spend more time with my mum. She wouldn't be as busy as Craig's family here, and so would be able to be more of a support. And then also Sydney's just
crazy
very
busy.
Expensive. Yeah, and very expensive to live here, and it sometimes just feels like you're never going to get ahead, that you're kind of always chasing your tail. And so we thought that might be a good place to go to kind of get ahead. So that's why we just gave it a go.
Okay, so when you moved there, you obviously were saving money on rent then, because it's much cheaper there.
Yeah, way cheaper.
Way cheaper. Because at the moment, we're paying quite a lot of rent for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom townhouse stuck in between 3 apartment blocks. So we've got to close the windows, otherwise people can listen in on our private conversation. And if I'm screaming at the children, although I'm not screaming anymore, Ben and I are trying to do this, what is it, he calls it peaceful parenting.
What's it called?
Peaceful parenting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, you get me a book on that so I can read it, because at the moment I want to scream. Right? Yeah, there is. So he wants me to do that.
Yeah, right. Okay.
No, I'm not a massive screamer either. I'm like, I ask him again, and then I'm like, I've asked you 10 times, do it.
I know. I said that to my little girl the other day. I'm like, I don't want to have to ask you to get your shoes for the 20th time.
Yeah.
Literally 20 times. Just please stop it. Just get your shoes.
And then they're like, why are you screaming at me?
I know.
And I'm like,
gosh, you're grumpy, Mum.
I know.
Anyway.
Head explosion. So you're obviously saving rent there, and maybe the food costs come down a little bit. Electricity, no, not really?
No, that was one of the things that we really were quite surprised by. So obviously our rent was way cheaper, and we didn't live too far out of the centre of Canberra, but we didn't live super central. But we lived in a huge 4-bedroom, standalone house with a huge backyard.
That makes me want to cry. That's what I want. Yeah, I so
2 bathrooms. Yeah, I know, and that's what we thought we wanted too, right? And so we moved there, and the rent was way cheaper. I think $400 a week cheaper than what we pay now. So yeah, a lot cheaper. But actually, we worked out that we actually didn't save any money when we lived there, because we eat out a lot. We love going out for lunch and for dinner and breakfast, and we our favourite thing to do is take the kids to the pub in Marrickville. We go to the Henson and they play in the little park there. And anyway, so all of that sort of stuff was really expensive to do in Canberra. Also, the public transport's really bad. So you drive everywhere. So we drove a lot more. So the cost of our car, like petrol and everything, just went through the roof. So actually, while our rent was cheaper, the cost of living was actually more expensive.
Okay, and was that...
It worked out to be equal.
So, but the reason why you moved back, was it because of that? Like you're paying more here, or was the lifestyle just rubbish?
It just didn't suit us. I think like I always am very wary of saying like the lifestyle's rubbish because like but that's how I felt. Like I thought the lifestyle was rubbish.
Personally to you.
Yeah, but to me, because some people really love that lifestyle. And like I know like my mum and my stepdad, they love living in Canberra because it suits their lifestyle. But in terms of what like my husband and I really love to do, and even my kids and even down to my dogs, like we got this huge backyard for the pug dogs to, you know, finally have all this grass, and they never went out there. They just sat on the outdoor couch. Like, and we'd be like, come on, play. Nah, not interested. They just wanted to be inside. So there was really no point to that for us. But, you know, it's a very different like lifestyle, you know, like we like to get up in the morning and just pop down, like we live in Marrickville, so we just get up in the morning and we can choose from 25 different cafes that we want to like have a coffee at, and we can walk there, and there's so many different like food options available here, and like lots of different parks that we can walk to, whereas in Canberra, you know, it's a planned city, and so the way it works is it's like tiny little villages, all these tiny little villages, and within your village you'll have, like depending on how big it is, you'll have like a school, and you'll have a park, and you'll have a shop, and like the shops are different. Some are huge Westfield shops, and then other ones are just like a corner store and maybe a cafe or maybe like a chiropractor's or something. And so if you want to go to another park, you can't really walk there, because there's so far between them, you know, like you're talking, like my mum we lived like 20 kilometres away from each other. And because like, you know, the way it's designed, the roads are so big and you can drive 100 kilometres an hour in between those little villages or suburbs. So it only takes you 10 minutes, but it's 20 kilometres.
Yeah.
So like you can't walk there.
Yeah, no.
And so that was the difference for us. That lifestyle just didn't suit us. And it's not, we kind of sat down and we wrote down all the things that we love to do, what are our very favourite things to do as a family. And we didn't really want to factor family into it because it was my family in Canberra and it was Craig's family in Sydney. And so we both have family in both places, and so it couldn't really be a consideration because it's unfair to both sides of the family, well, I thought, and my husband thought. And so we wrote down all the things that we love to do, and the things that we love to do, it wasn't easy for us to do that in Canberra. So we decided to move back.
How long did you do this experiment for?
12 months. We were there for 12 months.
12 months. Oh, well, yeah. Okay, that's a decent amount of time to figure out whether you loved it or not.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I'm asking all these questions because we are thinking of going to Melbourne. So, like, we're originally from Perth. So I totally get that, you know, people live kilometres away. I went to high school in a place called Rockingham, which is very far south of Perth. And from where I used to live was a 20-kilometre round trip to get KFC. And my family used to eat a lot of KFC. So it was like by the time you got the KFC, it was cold.
Yeah,
like, okay, reheat
you
that.
You have to put the oven on.
Yeah. So although Perth is like you get those bigger backyards and more house for your dollar, everything is really spread out. Like Ben's family would be north, 20 kilometres, and my family would be 20 kilometres south. And we used to live smack bang in the middle and have to travel to them, and it would be a nightmare. So, but we're thinking of moving to Melbourne, and I think Melbourne, like Sydney, like you still have a lot of people in Melbourne. You still have a lot of cafes, and because Ben and I, like you guys, we like to go out and get coffee and, you know, have date nights, and you want variety. You just don't want one choice.
Exactly.
So I'm just...
And you don't always want to have to get in... Our thing was we just didn't want to have to get in our car all the time.
Yeah, well...
It's just what we all like to do.
Exactly. Like, so I live in Russell Lee. My kids go to school in Drummoyne, and our office is in Five Dock, and we can walk We can do it's a big walk, but I take half an hour to walk my kids to school, and the first year they complained. Now they don't complain.
Yeah.
So
it's good for them too, and it's good for you.
Yeah, I get up like 15,000 steps some days. I'm like,
I know. That's all you need to do.
Exactly.
That incidental walking, that incidental exercise, that's what you need in life.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, that's all really good advice and things that I didn't factor in, actually, about the move. And did it cost you a lot to move?
It didn't cost us too much to get there, because we've actually moved like 1 billion times in Sydney. I think I've lived in Sydney for 11 years, and I've lived in 11 houses. Like, so I've got this removalist who's like the best ever, and he's super cheap, and he just gets it done, and there's no fuss. So he moved us there, but he couldn't move. He could move us to Canberra, but he couldn't move us back. So actually the move back did cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Also just things like you're living in this huge, like, double-story, 4-bedroom, massive house, and so the end of lease clean even, because, like, I'm not doing that myself, obviously. Like, you have to wash the walls, and it's 2 stories, you know? Like with this big open staircase. Yeah. So even all that, it was quite expensive. So it did end up being an expensive experiment, but I don't regret it, because I think we always would have thought, like, what if?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
And so now we know, and I guess when you become when you become a parent, and I know, like, you've been a parent for a while now, and like my girls are 4, so it's been like 4 years, or 5 if you include pregnancy.
Always include pregnancy. Yeah.
So it's been like 5 years, and I feel like I should probably be over it by now, but I still am I still mourn my life before kids, and so I feel like I was still living in this place of, like, mourning my life before kids and finding this whole, like, motherhood thing, like, quite challenging, and so I was just always thinking there has to be a better way to do this, like, there has to be a better way. And so I think one of the things that we went to was getting out of Sydney, and that's going to fix all of our problems, and we'll be so much happier because it's Sydney's fault, and we don't have enough money, and blah, 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 blah. And so, like, I'm really glad we did it, because, like, I kind of still felt the same way when I moved to Canberra. Like, motherhood is so hard, and I just came to this realization that, like, it's actually, I've just got to fix my mindset.
Yeah,
like,
wherever you go, you're there.
Same, like, a different place, same problems.
Yeah.
So, you know, it really, like, it was good for that. Like, I kind of, both my husband and I made that realization, was like, yeah, okay, like, that's not, somewhere else isn't going to make us happy. Like, we've got to make ourselves happy.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That was really good. And I feel like we don't take Sydney for granted like we used to. You know?
I think Sydney for us has really helped us find an opportunity to start a business as well. Because if we had started this business in Perth, it wouldn't have gone anywhere near where it is now. But right now, like, we're in 380 square metre space, but we need to go to double that, really.
Yeah.
And you're looking at $100,000 a year, you know.
Expensive, right?
So, but then you go to Melbourne and you can get that for $50,000, and you're like, oh, and it's a beautiful warehouse, and it's ground level, and we can get a forklift, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah. I just think, like, what really helped us, like, deciding that we wanted to move back was, what are the things that give us joy in life, and what are the things we love to do? And then once we had that, we could work out whether it was going to suit us. Like, Sydney and Melbourne is very similar, right?
They are very similar. And
it's just the weather, really.
And even then, like, we quite like the cold, Ben and I. Yeah. Like, we just go, yes, it's cold, thank God I'm not sweating. Right. And then we've got a base of friends already down there, and my brother is down there. So in Sydney, we've got friends, but we don't have any family here. But you can't move solely to rely on people to help you raise your children. You can't do that.
Yeah, and that's what I really realised as well. Like, it just, like, your family can only be so much support, because they've got their own lives as well, you know? Like,
exactly.
It's easier for me. Like, when we decided to move, I said, okay, I'm only moving if I can get an au pair. So we have an au pair now, and, like, it's just, I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's just easier to pay someone to be your help
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Okay, well, that's all really good advice for moving.
I hope you enjoyed that mini version of an interview all about moving. I thought it was important to flesh it out and explore the different ideas behind moving your family around the country.